Hello everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated with another video on behalf of Dota Alchemy, and we have yet another patch. We're already on 7.23e. That is a ton of letter patches already on this big one, but it just shows that Valve is trying to get this patch right. They're trying to tweak things to be balanced and fun, and they released this patch at about 8 a.m. in the morning, so they're working late, or they're working on the weekends. Couple really big changes. General Outpost EXP is now every 10 minutes instead of every 5, so the game is definitely a lot slower than it was earlier this week. It's still going to be very important to control the Outpost, but at least you don't have to do it every 5 minutes, and you won't get so snowballed on if you don't have map control for only 5 minutes. Now, you really have to be locked into your base for 10 minutes before you're going to feel the effects of the Outpost really kind of snowballing the game away from you. But let's be honest, if you're stuck in your base for 10 minutes anyway, you're probably going to lose the game. So this is just sort of a much more balanced approach to the Outpost experience, in my opinion. They've also removed 2 non-Roshan shrines. So that means that both of the sort of the right side of the map, that means the Dire Triangle loses its shrine, and then the Radiant Jungle loses its shrine as well. So one less access point there. This is going to make that tier 1 tower on both sides of the map, or both Dire and Radiant, significantly more valuable. And it's going to make it a lot harder to control that shrine, or rather that outpost over there as well. So whoever loses the Dire offlane tower or the Radiant safe lane tower first is going to be at a massive disadvantage in terms of positional ability. So I think that that's going to be a really big change. We might see a ton of focus put in that bottom lane, potentially tri-lanes. So definitely high pressure heroes, stuff like Beastmaster and heroes that can shove down lanes and take towers quickly probably should be prioritized to make sure that you get that map control as early as possible. And then the last general change is that they removed all of the experience talents, which is something that a lot of people have been calling for. That is a pretty big change to quite a few heroes, and I think almost every single hero, especially the ones that had the EXP talent at level 10, would just take that talent every game. So we're going to have a lot of heroes being played differently now, and the tempo or the pace at which the heroes are played is going to change quite a bit as well. So as we go through the hero changes, if the hero has an EXP talent, I'm just going to say they have an EXP talent change, and then after we get through the rest of the hero nerfs, because there's a few other adjustments, we will go into the hero guide section where I've changed and sort of suggest what talent you should take instead now, since you have to choose between not an EXP talent and not an EXP talent. So, Abaddon loses the EXP, Bane loses the EXP, Beastmaster loses the EXP, Bounty Hunter, Dazzle both lose EXP. Drow Ranger marksmanship agility bonus has been reduced from 35 to 45% down to 28 to 44%. So this hero has just seemed too strong ever since they changed her to have a different marksmanship and multi-shot, and they're just trying to nerf the amount of damage that she does. So we'll see if that's enough to take Drow out of the meta. I guess it's probably not, but this is a somewhat significant agility bonus nerf. Jakiro, Keeper of the Light, Legion, Omni, Oracle, Pudge, Shadow Demon, Shadow Shaman, Skywrath all lose their EXP talents. Snapfire, Little Shredder damage per shot has been reduced by 5 at all levels, so a little bit worse in the early game to trade. And then most people who are playing this as a support were not maxing Little Shredder, I don't think. Sometimes you could. Anyway, this ability was probably too good, and so they're going to nerf it. Mortimer's Kisses, movement slow has been reduced. Surprised they're not touching the damage on the spell at all, because that seems to be where the most imbalance comes from, but the slow being significantly less at level 1 means that it's much harder to hit multiple of them. So that's definitely a good adjustment to this hero as well. Techies and Tidehunter lose their EXP talents. Treant Protector strength gain has been reduced from 4.1 to 3.7, so just much less tanky as the game goes on. Or not much less, but somewhat less tanky as the game goes on. Overgrowth DPS has been reduced from 100 to 75. As much as I like playing Treant Protector, I have to agree with this. I think they just gave him an additional 100 DPS on his ultimate that he didn't have before the big patch, and so it was just too strong. He does way too much damage. 75 is still quite a bit, but it's not as overpowered. And then at level 25, the talent has been reduced from 700 AoE living armor to 550. Who cares? That doesn't really make any difference at all. You're probably not going to get to 25 on Treant in most games anyway, because you're snowballing and winning early. Tusk loses his EXP talent. Ursa strength gain has been reduced from 3.1 to 2.8. Earthshock mana cost has been increased by 10. So this is a hero who has pretty terrible mana regeneration and mana pool. So this could be somewhat significant. This ability is very, very strong. We're seeing people going for it, maxing it out often just because of the powerful slow that it has and the cooldown giving you extra mobility as well in fights. So that's a pretty big deal. Vengeful Spirit strength gain has been reduced down to 2.4. Magic Missile stun duration has been reduced at all levels by 0.1. This hero still seems very strong because her aura and just the fact that you get a free hero when you die, basically, to continue to play with is what makes this hero so powerful right now. Visage loses the EXP talent. Void Spirit strength gain has been reduced by 0.2, so slightly less tanky as the game goes on. Base armor has been reduced by 1, so less tanky in general, especially in the laning stage. Astral Step charge restore time has been increased from 25 scaling to 15 to 30 scaling to 20. Astral Step mana cost has been increased to 100 at all levels. I like these changes. I was really hoping they wouldn't change Astral Step or really change the heroes too much in terms of his abilities. But I do think that permanently having Astral Step up is what it feels like. You can usually use it to jump into a fight and then jump out of a fight, and then you have another charge up, and then you can jump back into the fight, and then by the time you've used your whole rounds of spells again, you can jump back out of the fight. So you're going to have to be a little bit more cognizant of how you're using your ultimate charges now, because an additional 5 seconds is a pretty big deal at all levels. And then Warlock, Weaver, and Zeus have lost their EXP talents as well. So let's go ahead and look at those EXP talent changes, and we can decide which ones are now the correct choice for each hero. So Abaddon's EXP talent at level 10 was changed to 10 strength, so now you choose between 10 strength or 20 movement speed. I think that the hero is trending towards being an offlaner, so 10 strength gives him more damage, more tankiness, which is really nice, and the movement speed is kind of irrelevant because you're tending to buy, phase and drums and that kind of stuff anyway. Bane's EXP talent has now been replaced with 20% magic resistance at level 15. I would say that you probably take that just because the 8% spell amp doesn't really combo that well with this hero. Most of your spell damage is already high enough, and 8% doesn't amp it a ton. It's not like you're hitting multiple heroes with your spells. Everything you do is single target, so I think just being tankier is better on a hero like Bane. Beastmaster had his level 10 talent replaced with 30 damage, which I think you take probably 100% of the time. That's just a ton of damage, especially for a hero that wants to be hitting towers and kind of in the thick of things, pushing out lanes, that sort of stuff. Really, really high damage talent at level 10 to have, and I think that you probably just want to go that instead of the movement speed, unless you really need to catch somebody, but you tend to just buy Blink Dagger anyway for that. So Bounty Hunter had his EXP talent changed at level 10 to be 25 damage instead of EXP, and I think that you probably go for that as well since you have a built-in crit. This hero tends to play as a support that looks to assassinate supports on the other team, so having extra damage will help you do that. The movement speed, it's okay for the hero, but you're, again, already getting bonus movement speed from your track. You probably go for stuff like phase and drums anyway, maybe a Yule's, maybe a Spirit Vessel, so you're just going to have a lot of movement speed already, and you don't really need the additional 20, I don't think, since you're faster than most heroes in the game already. Dazzle had the EXP talent changed to +2 mana regeneration or 75 damage, and the 75 damage is great. I mean, that's a crazy number to have at level 10, but if you're playing Dazzle as support, you just want to be able to cast more spells, so I think you probably go the mana regeneration. You should be spamming your spells constantly, so this synergizes better with your bad juju, the cooldown reduction, getting more and more stacks of armor reduction as well. If you were to play this as a core Dazzle, 75 damage is definitely in consideration, and you probably go for that, but even then the mana regeneration is still quite nice. So kind of a tough choice, I think, and maybe situational. I'm just going to go ahead and put the mana regeneration since I play this hero mostly as a support, and it makes more sense to be spamming spells and right-clicking people when you're trying to play that sort of like save healer as well. So Takuro had the XP talent at level 15 and has been replaced with 350 health, which is a pretty huge number. But the 40 dual breath burn damage also feels very nice and combos nicely with your 8% spell amp at level 10. So I like to go for both of those. And so this EXP talent that Jakiro loses is kind of a bummer, but it's not that big of a deal. I think that the 8% spell amp and 40 dual breath is pretty nuts. It lets you just like instantly clear waves basically with one cast of that spell. And so I think that this hero could just be more of a damage dealer in fights, more of a wave pusher, more of a D pusher. And, you know, you could go for the health if you wanted to and just be very tanky as well. Keeper of the Light had the EXP talent changed with a 6% spell amp choice now at level 10. And I think in this case, you probably just go the movement speed. You really are not a damage dealer at any point in the game. 6% spell amp on top of an Illuminate is not that valuable, and the hero is already quite fast, so the 25 movement speed, maybe you don't even need to go boots on this hero, to be honest, until much later on in the game. Who knows? I think that there's some more options that you could explore with that. Legion Commander at level 10 lost the EXP talent and had it replaced with +2 mana regeneration, which I think is definitely a viable talent. 8 strength is also quite nice because you're trying to get some early duels, so that the tankiness and the extra damage, of course, can help you win those. On the other hand, if you go for the mana regen talent, then you don't have to go for something like a Soul Ring. The hero does run out of mana pretty regularly, and when they changed Sven to have a mana regeneration talent, it made the hero so much more playable. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the 2 mana regen on Legion Commander is better. Just because 8 strength is okay. You know, it's definitely good for the hero, but I don't think it's like a potentially hero-changing amount of strength. Hopefully you've already gotten a couple duels by then, and so you don't really care about the 8 extra damage anyway. Omni Knight lost his EXP talent at level 15 and had it replaced with 30 movement speed, which I think means that you just take the 90 damage in basically every game. I suppose if you're playing super utility Omni Knight, you can go the movement speed talent because it is a decent amount of movement speed, but at the same time, your hero is already faster than most heroes, especially with the degen aura and phase boots. So this one I'm not 100% sure of. It just seems like value-wise, you're basically getting a Windlace versus more than a Sacred Relic. So if you just do a gold cost comparison, it seems like 90 damage is just way, 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 way more valuable than the 30 movement speed. So that's why I'm going with this. The 30 movement speed might be pretty good on this hero. I don't know. I think I'd have to play it several times to figure out which one is better. But for now, we'll say 90 damage is just better at 15. Oracle lost his EXP talent at level 10 and had it replaced with 15 intelligence, which I think you take every single game. 15 extra damage at level 10, a bunch of extra mana pool, a little bit of spell amp as well. Very nice. The Fortune's End max duration. You usually aren't even getting this max channeled anyway, so who cares? I think this is actually one of the worst talents in the entire game. So 15 extra stats to your main stat. Take that every game, all the time. Pudge at level 10 lost his EXP talent, which was a huge part of playing the hero. Usually 35 raw damage is nice, but now you have the choice to also take 5 armor, which I think probably makes a bit more sense considering how you usually play this hero, or really the best way to play Pudge, which is to just be a damage soaking tank, running in, taking a bunch of damage for your team, and being able to, you know, survive when you're channeling Dismember and that sort of thing. I think the 5 armor combos very nicely with that. He's a strength hero without a ton of armor, but a lot of health, and so the more armor you have on him, the more tanky he gets. Shadow Demon had his EXP talent changed to +100 cast range, and this is a pretty big deal because this is a hero who goes for Aether Lens basically every game because you need extra cast range to make sure that you're getting Disruption and Demonic Purge on the right targets. So now you have an additional 100 cast range plus your Aether Lens, which means that you can disrupt people from like across the entire screen. It's just so much better than the Soulcatcher creates an illusion on death in most cases, I would say. Shadow Shaman had his EXP talent replaced with 10% spell amp. Now, I think that this hero probably just goes for the health. I'm going to be honest, sometimes I was even just going for the health already just because this hero is so strong when you can get to like a level of tankiness where you just BKB and then you hold people with your shackles and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. So I think that just kind of going all in on that strategy makes a lot of sense for Shaman. So Skywrath Mage had its level 10 experience talent replaced with 8% lifesteal, spell lifesteal, which I think pushes you towards the movement speed. The movement speed combos pretty well with this hero. You're trying to just run around super fast, max movement speed, catching people with Atos and blowing them up. And the lifesteal, it doesn't really do a ton, I don't think. You're not trying to be taking damage and like trading your health at any point because you're such a bursty hero that yes, you are going to be stealing quite a bit of health, and so it might make you more tanky, but at the same time, if you're having to be tanky in a game of Skywrath, I think you're probably playing the hero incorrectly in terms of positioning. Techy's had its experience talent replaced with 25 magic resistance, which I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest. I don't play very much Techy, so I don't really know. I'm going to assume that most people will probably take the Proximity Mine cooldown, but I kind of feel like this hero is a pretty good team fighter if you're in the mix and you are jumping into fights using your blast off a lot of the time. And so having magic resistance is quite nice. Also, 25% magic resistance is a lot in terms of gold value. It's pretty strong. Your proximity mines already have charges, so taking their replenish time from 23 down to 19 doesn't sound like that big of a deal to me. I feel like proximity mines are kind of your least important part of the hero after, the laning stage or so. I could be wrong, but I would say that the magic resistance just seems like a more valuable talent. But let me know what you think in the comments below if I'm getting that one wrong. Tidehunter also lost his EXP talent at level 15 and had it replaced by a 4 mana regeneration talent. And I believe that you go for that talent in every game just because 25 Anchor Smash damage reduction is kind of unimportant. You're already reducing people's damage by 60%, so getting up to 85%. I mean, that's a lot of damage reduction, but so is 60, and I kind of just don't think that you need to go at 85. You're already doing your job at 60. However, if you have 4 mana regeneration, you will never, ever run out of mana, and that is really, really important on a hero that wants to be brawling and fighting. Tusk lost his EXP talent at level 10 and had it replaced with 10 health regen, which is quite a bit of regen. This hero likes to jump in, he likes to be aggressive, and so having extra tankiness and regen is nice. However, 90 GPM, how can you pass it up, especially when you're a hero that doesn't farm that well like Tusk, and you are a hero that scales quite well with items? I don't think that you can get rid of taking the GPM talent on this hero. Visage had his level 15 talent changed from EXP gain to -3 armor corruption, and I think that it's probably not good enough to stop taking the soul assumption hits 2 targets, which I think a lot of people are already taking. Generally speaking, Visage doesn't have the best talent tree, and so I think that a lot of pros, at least that I was seeing, were taking the soul assumption hits 2 targets anyway, because this is such an early game hero, and being able to nuke 2 people in like these 15 to 20 minute fights when you're trying to end the game with this hero is just better than getting an EXP talent. And now that you're getting armor corruption, I mean, Blightstone gives you 2 armor corruption for 300 gold, so this is like a 450 gold talent basically versus a full secondary nuke. So I would just say probably sticking with the soul assumption on Visage. Warlock, EXP talent at level 15. This was a pretty big one. This one was extremely important, especially with the pace of the game recently, because you'd get to these insane god tier golems. But now you can't do that, so instead you can choose between Shadow Word cooldown and 10 armor, which has replaced the EXP talent for Warlock. And I think you go with the 10 armor just because Shadow Word cooldown, this just lets you put it on 2 people or keep it up with 100% uptime, which is good, but your uptime is, or your downtime is only 4 seconds anyway, and you kind of don't use this ability in fights. However, you are often getting jumped, so being tankier and being able to get off your chaotic offering could be very important. And also sometimes you're standing there using upheaval and people are trying to go on you and kill you, so you stop slowing everyone. So having an additional 10 armor is a pretty big deal. Weaver is definitely going to be hit pretty hard by this EXP talent being removed at level 10. This hero was so strong in big part because of the EXP talent. You get so high level so quickly, and then you do a ton of damage and be almost impossible to kill with your movement speed on Shikuchi. However, now you get 8 agility, or you can take the Shikuchi damage. However, I just don't really think that you use this spell for damage most of the time. I could be wrong, because it is on a 6-second cooldown, but at the same time, I would probably just prefer getting a little bit extra armor, a little bit of extra damage, double that damage when you have Geminate attack going, and then, of course, the attack speed as well to just pump out more damage, which is kind of what this hero does. And finally, we have Zeus, another hero hit very hard by this EXP talent change. It's been replaced with 250 health, which I think just means you take the 3 mana every single game, because if you're taking damage as Zeus, then you're playing the hero incorrectly. So being more tanky is completely irrelevant. Being able to cast more spells is exactly what you want to do. So 3 mana every single game. And that is the end of the talent changes. So let me know if you think I got those right. Let me know what your opinions are, and let me know how you think this patch will affect the game down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Good luck in your games this weekend, and we will see you in another video very, very soon.